Namaste and welcome back to my channel. In one of my videos last month, I mentioned that I won't be taking part in Camp NaNoWriMo, but things have changed and I'm doing it. But I don't have big goals and I thought I'll document it for myself because I feel I'm getting so much closer. Don't get me wrong, I still have a long way before this manuscript is all done. But I feel I'm finally getting off this constant loop that I have been on editing and rewriting and editing and rewriting, and I feel this draft is going to be the end to that loop that I've been on. Also, I thought I'll pick up one or two comments that you've left in my previous videos and just pick one or two and elaborate on them in my vlogs, because I feel some questions, some comments just need more explanation, and it's very hard to get everything across in just few lines of comments or even a few paragraphs rather, and I wanted to take my time and expand on those things. So if you have left a comment in my recent videos, I'm going to pick one or two and try and give you more in my vlogs, in my videos. And if you want your questions to be answered, or you want to know my thoughts on something that you're considering, leave them in the comment section and I might pick them for the next vlog. This morning was interesting. So after I dropped my kid to school and on my way back, I was listening to an audiobook. It's called Impact Winter. I'll pop up the cover over here.
You want to let her sister know?
She's eating. We'll give her a tick.
Did you nick it or not? You want me to drag it out here in front of everyone?
And it's a free book by Audible. I don't know, they just had this free book for me. So I downloaded it and I hadn't listened to it until now. And I am a little conflicted about how I feel about this book. I haven't been reading a lot, especially after I discontinued my Kindle Unlimited subscription, and I feel audiobook is a good way to get back into reading. It's easy, it's fast. I usually listen to it at 2x, 2.5x speed, so it goes faster for me. And this book is interesting, but I don't know how exactly I feel about this book because it is so highly produced and there is sound effects and music, and I still don't know how I feel about it. And I'll update you once I finish the book, which should be in a day or two. Maybe in the next vlog I can tell you what I think about this book, especially with the way it is being produced. But right now I'll get back to work. Ooh, the cat is back. Okay, I know this is not writing related, but I have to tell you about this evil cat. I hope I don't offend anyone. Okay, just humor me. Are you a cat person or a dog person? I feel I'm neither, but if I have to choose, I'd choose dog, because we had a dog, our family dog, and she was beloved dog of ours. But otherwise, I'm not so much of a cat or a dog person, but definitely not a cat person. The house that we are recently living in, it has a small little backyard, and there is a problem with these cats. I don't know whether they are house cats and they just come out for a stroll, or they are stray cats. I don't know much about them, but they like to take a dump in our backyard. And we've tried a lot of things, a lot of humane things to keep them off this backyard, but it hasn't worked. And there's this one particular one who is like, I feel like she can read my mind that we don't like her, and she loves to just taunt us. Thank you for indulging me and listening to my cat problems. I did do 2 writing sprints early in the day. It was 25 minutes each and I got around 500 words. I'm taking it slow because there's a lot of line edits I'm doing while I'm rewriting this draft, which I know is not the best thing to do, but that's working for me, so I'm going with it. And now I'll try and get at least one more 25-minute sprint before I have to go back and pick my kid. When I wrote the first draft of this book, it was quite different. At the core, it's still the same, but it has changed a lot since then. But first things first, if you're new here, I'm writing a romantic suspense novel called The Rajput, and you'll be surprised how many messages and emails I get from people who would like to help me research more about Rajputs. And I want to tell them, but at the same time, I don't want to tell anyone yet. But I guess I'm telling you now. The book is not about Rajputs. I'll talk about it more when I'm closer to release, and I'll share why I decided to call my book this. I wrote the first draft of this book in 2016 during NaNoWriMo in November, and the story has changed so much, but also I have changed as a writer. I feel I've worked on my storytelling skills, and there were a lot of things that back then I didn't know how to write them effectively, and I've worked hard to learn those things. And with every draft, I've become more and more intentional and deliberate the way I outline before every draft and update my outline after every draft. And it shows in this current draft. I'm working on the 9th draft of this book. I've been working on the 9th draft for a while. Of course, I've not been working on it every day. There have been things that have been happening, and I thought I would release this book back in 2020, but I don't think it'll happen until next year. I hope it happens next year, but that is not stopping me from imagining what the release would be like and all the things that I want to do for the release. Anyways, but just to get me excited about this book again, I mapped out a tentative release date and sat down and did a little bit of strategic planning about what I would do and how I would go about it and what I would like the cover to be. And that's when I remembered a while back someone had emailed me from it was a German company, a small company, and they wanted to do a book trailer for me. And I haven't done a book trailer for any of my books because you have to weigh your budget and where you want to spend your money. So I haven't had that kind of a budget that I could spend on a book trailer. So I've never done a book trailer, but they kindly offered to do a book trailer for free and have me review how my experience is working with them. But of course I don't have a book to release yet, so I can't take them up on it, but it kind of got me excited about what that would be like and what I would like in a book trailer. I also got thinking about audiobooks. Since I've been listening to this audiobook, I was like, what would it be for me to release an audio version of my book, and what would be the process like? I know what the process is more or less about. If I use ACX, that's the audio production self-publishing arm of audiobooks on Amazon. I know more or less what that is like because I've tinkered around with it a few times, but I don't know if I can fit that into my budget because that's quite expensive. So I want to do a little bit of research and talk to other authors who've used other audiobook services and see how I would go about it and what all things you need to consider to create an audiobook. And it kind of, it made me excited about getting back to the draft, and I've been quite happy with how this draft has been coming along. I've been budgeting for this book for a while now, and I feel I have a good savings, a good amount of money that I have to spend on the release of this book. But then I've been thinking about this is not going to be the last book I publish. I want to publish more books after this. So how much do I want to spend on this just one book, because it's expensive to self-publish books. And so I'm glad that I've been budgeting, and if you are planning to self-publish a book, consider looking into the finances of what it costs to self-publish and start building up a fund where you can pull money from when you are ready to release your book, ready to self-publish your book. It's a little later in the day, and I finished with a few things that were there on my to-do list. I'll just pop it up over here so you can see what I've been working on today. But one of the things that I have been setting time aside for, not necessarily when I'm at my desk, mostly when I'm on my phone doing other things around the house or just sitting around, I want to, so there are 3 parts in my book, and wait, let me think, should I be sharing this? Okay, let me just keep it a little vague. I want to have quotes at the beginning of every, like I said, there are 3 parts in the book, so I want a quote at the beginning of every part that sort of summarizes or kind of hints at what big thing will happen in each of those parts. And I've been setting time aside to find these quotes. I know there is a way to do this faster than just Googling it, and in case if you know about it, let me know. How do I find exact quotes on particular things faster? Is there a way to do that faster? So let me know if you know something like this. Let me know in the comments. That would be of great help. But right now I'll go through my comment section, and just I have 2 comments that I want to elaborate on a little bit. So if you don't know, on my YouTube channel in the community tab, every Friday I post just a light-hearted poll asking what you've been reading, would you rather. I have a whole series of would you rather. I sort of lost count of them, so I don't mention which number it is, but they've been over 20-25 part or what do you call it, would you rathers. So this one was posted a few Fridays ago, and I asked, would you rather read a standalone or a series? And there were over 100 people who took the time to respond, and thank you so much. So 65% of you said you'd rather read a standalone, and 35% said a series, you prefer a series. And that's such an interesting result, because as I don't know whether you are a reader or a writer, the people who took the time to vote on this poll, so I don't know whether you are a reader or a writer, but it was just so interesting. And there was a comment on this saying series work better for indie authors, and it does better generally for if you see anything on Netflix or other OTT platforms. And that's such an interesting point to bring up, because as writers, especially as indie writers, we want to write series because that hooks your readers in, and you can hold them over a number of books. But as a reader, you want a quick resolution to whatever the problem the book has, and you don't want a lot of cliffhangers and waiting for the next book to come up. So it was just such an interesting take. And if you are planning to self-publish your book, especially, and even if you're going for traditional publishing, it'll slightly differ in traditional publishing, because you have to pitch your book in a certain way and contracts work a certain way. And since I I'm not a traditionally published person, so I cannot really speak on that. But self-publishing and what I'm seeing and my research and my plans for my future books, I can bring up this point and we can discuss about it. So when you are planning your books, it's important to strategically plan for books, and I've talked about it so much. When I started, I did not think beyond my first book, and I feel that was a mistake. And if you are starting off, or even if you've published a few books and you're working on your future books, think about writing a series, because that is a very successful, I would say, strategy to release books. It works in the favor of indie authors. So just think about the strategy that you want to go with when you are publishing a book, and it's better to give some thought to these things in the early stages of drafting your book, I would say, because that way you can actually see if your book can be made into a series. Of course, not every book requires to become a series, but it's a good point, and I thank Nilab to bring this point up for us fellow writers and anyone who wants to indie publish their book. So to think about this and see how we can learn from Netflix and see if we can take that into our own book marketing and book production strategy. The other comment that I get very frequently is, you as a writer have a good idea, you know there is potential in your story idea, and you find it difficult to see it translate into a good story on paper. And a lot of time people ask how to write better descriptions and things, and I find that this is a problem usually when you are a beginner. And there are a few things that I find it very useful. First of all, just being okay with our book not being the best, or the idea that we have not translating the best that we want on paper in the first few drafts, because that's what happened with me, especially with this current book that I'm working on. Like I said, it's the 9th draft. So it's important to be okay that the book is not going to be perfect in the first draft. It never is. Most authors will tell you that the first draft is, I don't know who has said this, but I've heard it from many authors, that the first draft is usually we telling the stories to ourselves, and once you have your story on paper, you can then build it up and work with what you have, move things around, and you have to be okay with your story not being the best. That's the first thing. The second thing is that you have to keep writing and keep working with whatever you have. If you don't start writing, then there's nothing to work with, and also you wouldn't know what you need to improve upon. If you start writing and you feel it's not the way you want your idea to come out on paper, and then you stop writing, that's not going to help you. So you have to write it and then see what needs to be fixed, and then pick one thing from there and then work on it. And as new writers, you may not know how to do a certain thing, and that's why reading a lot of craft books helps. I have a whole series of videos on, I call it Writing Toolbox, where I have shared the things that have helped me, books and blogs. A lot of editors write wonderful blogs where they explain how certain things need to be worked at. Then there are podcasts, there are YouTube channels. There is a lot of free resources that you can use to work on your writing craft. The other thing that you can do is attend workshops, take courses. There are a lot of courses on Skillshare, on Coursera, on Udemy. There are a lot of resources where you can get a lot of help with your writing, but you have to be okay to suck at it before you get better at it. Just to share with you how I'm going about my current draft is, right now I'm going through my draft 8, and line by line going through each sentence, each paragraph, and transferring it into a new document and basically rewriting everything. But while I'm doing that, I'm making sure to expand first of all, because my first draft, my 8th draft is very sparse, and I have a word count in mind that I want to hit to be able to fit into the genre I'm writing in. The things that I'm using to help me with that is a few questions I'm asking myself, and I did a video on it because I'm such an underwriter, what exactly I'm doing to expand my book, and all the strategies that you can use. Not every strategy you would need, but just to give you an idea about how I'm going about doing this. So I'll make sure to link that video in the description section as well. So just take your time and just go through that video and see what all things you can take from that video and apply in your book. I hope this was useful. If you want me to answer your questions in a future vlog, do leave them in the comments section. Alright, now I'll back up my manuscript and quickly update my daily review. It takes me like less than 5 minutes, so I'll quickly do that. See what I have for tomorrow. If something needs to be added or moved, I'll do all that. And oh my, the cat is back. Alright, anyways, so I'll see you in the next one.